Hello and welcome back to Masters Berlin, where I am more than happy to be hopping on the desk for the very first time at this event alongside Kukuka and Gio. But how about that first match of the day? Ascend kicking it off with style and a little flair to boot.
You know, it was good. There were a lot of people who were wondering maybe if we would go to all 3 maps, but no, Ascend proved that, no, they have what it took. They have what it took. They've set a precedent.
They put on a show. Starzo as well. Love to see his energy. Love to see the kind of fanfare that they bring out onto the stage. But from here, Kukuka, we turn our attention to our first inter-regional matchup, and it's coming from Group D. It's G2 against F4Q. I'm ultra excited about our first regional clash because, as we've talked about, you see all these teams meet regionally, and it's really hard to determine how they will ultimately stack up.
Of course, we talk a lot about the regions, and obviously, as you were saying, SM versus SMB, that's something that we've seen before, it's something that we can expect. We know how this team plays, and not only how they play, but how they play against each other. We don't know anything about what is going to happen now. We do know that they do have different playstyles, but who is going to come on top today?
I mean, that's exactly it. For me, these are 2 really interesting regions to go up against each other, especially this early on in the competition, because you've got this like hyper-aggressive Korean region, especially specifically F4Q, you know, compared to like Vision Strikers, for example, and then G2, who really kind of epitomize the way that EU play, which is a bit more reserved in comparison.
Well, as we pull up the Group D bracket, it's important to note that this is the group that differs from the rest. Given a 15 tournament or a 15-team tournament, we do have one group with only 3 teams. So they'll be playing a double round robin as opposed to that double elimination with the top 2 seeds going through. So as well, kind of another added bit to this whole saga of how these teams are ultimately going to interact. You're just going to have to play more often against each other.
Yeah, obviously. Today is going to be the first one. I mean, it's only our second match, but I feel that is going to be a great one. I think it's better for G2 to start on like the low part of it. I think Sentinels, obviously we all want to see Sentinels against G2, but maybe this is like an easier start for them.
That said, Gio, when you look at that bracket, or that group rather, I think a lot of people, they are already putting Sentinels through. So it's about which team comes out behind them in a lot of people's minds.
Yeah, it's almost like the battle for second place, which is an awful thing to say. And it could be the Sentinels don't make it through. This could end up like, they could end up like absolutely, you know, ruining it. But
I'll eat my words a couple days later.
I think we'll have to wait to see if that's going to end up happening. But yeah, so it is really like, what are the expectations that we should have for the other 2 teams that are going to be in this group going up against Sentinels? And especially when we talk about that contrasting playstyle, how's that going to compare to Sentinels too?
And it's also the fact that these 2 teams, because we have seen Sentinels doing how they do on a LAN international event, but we haven't seen G2, we haven't seen F4Q, so now is the time to prove why they're here.
Well, for fans learning about this, you know, legendary matchup and esports organizations, I think we need to talk about how this G2 Valorant squad ultimately punched their ticket through here to Berlin.
I mean, it's there's a lot to say about G2 because the G2 that we got to know last year has nothing to do with this one. Actually, coming from Watson Ascend, we see Colamenta, their IGL. That is now actually the IGL for G2, something that they needed. We see Avoba and Nuki from Team Heretics and Kellogg's. Just a great French player also from a French squad. And only Mixwell. Mixwell is like the center part, but now we see him playing Sky, Sentinels. I mean, I have to say that from G2, I feel like they have evolved a lot in the sense that they're probably the team that has tried and tested the most in official matches.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you look at the history of the agent compositions that they've played in their games, and it's like, oh, well, the last 2 games they played it, you played this one, but then before that they were playing a totally different one. You know, they're really happy to play flexibly. And I think also, you know, you talk about these players who have, you know, relatively new to the roster. You also have to consider Nilzinho as well, who's actually been with the organization for quite a while. He's their coach, so he's kind of come up through this growth of G2.
I mean, you mentioned Mixwell being the only returning member, but yeah, the roster coming together in full just in June, so not a ton of time with each other to have made already such an achievement and qualified for this event. I think it does leave a lot of questions to be answered about what they will ultimately come to the table with. They've had success on a number of maps, but still with some time, they might come out with something new.
I feel like G2 in every game is just scary, okay? They're just scary, and especially when you can pick players from so many different teams and make them work and be like, okay, we want to prove that we're versatile, that we can literally do anything. We can play any comp. It doesn't matter if I'm Nuki. If I want to play Omen, I am going to do it, and I'm going to win with it.
Well, let's hop to the other side of the matchup and get a quick look at Korea's #2 seed in F4Q. A really interesting squad, just from a story perspective of how they came together and made it here to begin with.
F4Q are kind of wild, because even when you think back to Masters 2, the Korean representation was new turn. A lot of people thought Vision Strikers were going to make it. F4Q have kind of just wormed their way in, and a lot of people know these players as like, oh, that's the content creator squad. These are the streamers who just decided, screw it, let's go and become this professional team. But a lot of these players do also have professional experience. I mean, Bunny and Zumba, big names on this team, but both of them were professional Overwatch players back on the Overwatch League. So there is that in the background.
Yeah, you and I do remember those days.
Oh, yeah.
And obviously, I mean, another player that we need to talk about is, well, Bunny's here on the screen, but we need to mention 5K, because he's Mr. Do It All, Mr. Do It Good. I mean, you want me to IGL and Duelist, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to pop off every single time. But Bunny here also honors his name, obviously, because he's like Flights, but Korean.
I mean, I'm also really interested in Esperanza, for example, because he's kind of the newbie of the group, and he's actually proved himself to be this really effective Sova player. He's come in with their relatively new coach as well. Both of them came from Rio Company, previously on T1 Esports, and it has actually really meshed with the squad very well.
I also like to mention, before we start, I really like their playstyle. I think it's innovative, it's good, it's explosive, and it's a lot done for the viewers, but I'm kind of scared about Bunny playing that much race, because I feel like that is the kind of thing that works for like 2 or 3 rounds. You have your double touches, you can be surprised, but maybe, especially against G2, being a team that adapts so well to the situation, and later on Sentinels, I feel that's going to be hard for them. I also feel like there's a lot on what Thumba is going to be doing, because I've been hearing that he is completely insane on Astra, that he's always where you least suspect him.
An exciting team, to say the least. Let's learn a little bit more about F4Q as we meet Bunny and the rest of the squad.
안녕하세요. 저는 대한민국의 F4Q 팀의 버니입니다. 안녕하세요. 우선 저부터 말하자면 이제 세계에서 레이즈를 가장 잘하는 것 같고요.
Comes in. Oh, showstopper goes down and takes down King.
줌바 선수를 말하자면 세계에서 아스트라 제일 잘하는 사람.
Oh, look at this positioning from 5K.
5K는 뭐 말할 것도 없이 저희의 리더고, 에피나 선수는 이제 사이트가 뚫려도 사이트에 러쉬를 와도 그냥 믿고 맡길 수 있는
Athena with 3 kills.
에스퍼란자 선수는 캐리머신인 것 같아요.
Oh my god, Esperanza takes down King.
처음에는 유튜브 클립만 뽑으려고 이제 나왔다가 그냥 뭐 할만한 것 같아서 뭐 여러 명 이제 알아보다가, 저희가 뭐 정식 프로팀은 아니지만 여기까지 이제 와서 좀 다른 팀들이랑 이제 스크림을 했는데 딱히 그렇게 잘한다고는 못 느꼈거든요. 그래서 뭐 한국이랑 비슷한 것 같아서 이번에 한번 우승을 노려볼까 합니다. 아까도 말했듯이 저희는 딱히 부담감은 없고 자신감은 좀 어느 프로팀한테도 뒤처질 것 같진 않고, 최선을 다하면은 진짜 충분히 할 수 있을 것 같아요. 이게 지금 보면은 저희한테 아무런 관심이 없는 것 같거든요. 근데 저희 경기 안 보시면은 아마 지실 수도 있어요.
I love that. Not to be underestimated. If you don't watch our games, you are going to lose.
You might as well send them. You're not going to say, if you don't watch our games, you know what, you'd be fine. Like, you wouldn't want to say that, would you?
Oh my
Well,
god,
of course.
I'm so sad that I don't know Korean, because that was so intense. Like, I was here watching, I was like, oh my god, he's like an actor. He's like giving this speech, and he's like so well paced and everything. And I don't know, the choice of words and everything.
I love as well just the talk of confidence and the fact that they do believe they can win, as well as the fact that they recognize, hey, their backstory, what it means, and how it would, kind of change, I think, the landscape of VALORANT Esports if they were to ultimately take this series. With all that said, we're going to head to a quick break. When we come back, these two teams will be taken to the stage for the very first time here in Berlin. We'll see you soon.
Ooh, light the walls on fire, let them burn. We've got a lot to say, but we don't need words. Ooh, light the walls on fire, let them burn. We've got a lot to say, but we don't need words.
Welcome back to the beautiful VCT Music Hall here in Berlin, Germany for Masters 3, where we're gearing up for our next bout of the day. It's G2 versus F4Q. Back onto the F4Q conversation. A very exciting team because of kind of their unconventional playstyle. The fact that they were a coachless team for a period of time, only recently picking that up and maybe starting to hone in on an actual playstyle.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting one because F4Q, I think, have a very rigid playstyle in terms of their agents. If anyone's going to be a one-trick team, it's going to be this team, right? They really know what they like to play, which in some situations is like, great, they do these unconventional things that work really well, but in other situations, it leaves them in a position where it's like, you probably could have picked something different and you didn't. Why?
I also think I was listening to that interview, and he was saying, Bonnie was saying, "Oh, I actually played against the EU, and they're not that different from Korea." And I was like, "Are you sure? Are you completely sure? Because now we're gonna see them against you too." And it's what I was telling you. And in comparison to what you said, they are rigid in their playstyle, on a sense that they know what they want to do.
Yeah.
But what happens if that doesn't work? We're actually seeing them. Oh my God, the arrival here of the players. But going back and just finishing my point, I feel like G2 can have like the higher voice today because of that adaptive play style. They know, because they've been there, and basically their comms are based on that. I mean, we do have our utility, we do have our standards, but we can work from there.
I do love to check out the energy of the teams as they enter the building, but it is an interesting conversation around F4Q and how they'll stack up against an EMEA team that seems to be very willing to change their play style at any given moment, perhaps more than any other.
That's definitely something I'm really interested in, kind of leading off of what you were saying, Kakuka, is like, how much is that adaptability, or at least the willing to attempt to adapt, actually going to put G2 in a beneficial position? Because in my opinion, your automatic assumption would be that that's a huge advantage, because if they know that F4Q are like, oh, well, you know, they're going to be playing Raze and Reyna, crazy, right? We'll just, you know, pick whatever and go around in circles around them. I don't think F4Q have that in return to the same extent.
G2 arriving in the rain.
We have a fair shot of Luca Rojo.
So unfortunate.
Who cares about the players? Lucas is just coming in. No, but the players will show up at any moment. I also feel like coming to this match, I feel like the veto is going to favor G2. So I feel like it's going to be first rounds are going to go for F4Q because they're going to be explosive. They're going to go crazy. They have the micro plays. And that is going to disrupt G2 a little bit, maybe. Or maybe G2 is like, I'm going to take the upper hand here. I know what you want to do. I know you want to be aggressive, and I'm just going to give you some of your own medicine.
I mean, one thing that I'm really interested to see is if you have a look at all of the games that G2 have lost of late, which actually, interestingly, in the last 2 months have all been to the other 3 EMEA teams who are here at Masters Berlin. You have a look at the maps that they played, and almost always their struggles have been on defense. Right, so if that is something that F4Q can very specifically target, then like what hole are G2 going to find themselves in?
Well, if you're talking about failures in defense, then I'm curious which players you would target on G2 that need to step up today to maybe shore up some of those weaknesses.
So if I'm not in the wrong, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's Kellogg's first LAN event. So, and he's the Jet player, also the newest addition to G2, so all eyes on him. I also feel like on the other side we have Mixwell, who has been playing CSGO for like the longest time. He's been in LAN so long. I mean, he's got there to carry the team in that aspect.
Obviously, the thing you have to remember about Mixwell is he is their veteran, right? Yeah. So I'd imagine that if you consider it from like that, the mental epicenter that's going to keep them grounded, a lot of that is going to come from Mixwell. If you can crack into that, I mean, who knows what's going to happen?
Yeah, I mean, hey, and we don't have to wait too long to find out. Getting word that the teams are just about ready to step onto the stage for the very first time here at VALORANT Masters 3. It's G2 versus F4Q. Jump the gun there just a bit for you all. Players were just finishing getting set up. So we're going to take another moment to talk about this matchup before we head on and actually get that sick walkout. Baited you all. You were ready, though. You were ready.
I was so baited. I was like, wait.
You turned around, they're already in their seats, right?
Like I was hearing the smoke machines, and I'm like, but they're still sitting.
Yeah. You got to give them the opportunity. We got to have a go, so they at least should have a go.
We did, and we took 2 takes. It took us 2 takes.
Yeah, we were bad
when
at
we did our play test. So you know what? They get 2 takes as well. Fair enough.
Yeah.
All right, so then let's take a moment to talk about some of those individuals that might be difference makers in this matchup today. I want to hone in on a couple players that we actually haven't talked much about just yet. Avova and Zumba.
Lovely conversation, actually, because we see many teams where their controllers are also their IGLs. This is not the situation here, and I feel like they have completely different play styles. I feel like Avova really knows his teammates and plays around them and knows how to, especially with Nuki, because they've been together for the longest. And Thumba is just like, he's always going to be on the Astra. So, I mean, you can expect that. Maybe we'll see some changes. I don't expect them because I think he has so many things prepared. He feels so comfortable. If one thing that you have to be today is comfortable. So they're different players, and Zumba's also be going for the flank, for the sneak. He's going to be where you least expect him.
I mean, the thing that I find really interesting about Zumba's playstyle, and it's almost very similar to Plitz from Havan Liberty, who we're actually going to see later on today against 100 Thieves, is the fact that in the late round, he can show up on a side and just like change the entire momentum of the game. Even if it hasn't been working out for F4Q up until that point in the fight that's happening, Zumba shows up and he has that capability. And, you know, if you have a look at some of the statistics, his damage per round, his average kills, a little bit higher than Avova, and I think that's where that comes into play and how you actually see some of that be exhibited.
I think that's the thing, though. At the end of the day, when you look at a team like F4Q and the consistency with which they pick the same champions, or agents, excuse my League of Legends brain, you know.
That's number one.
It takes me a while, yeah. All right, throw the counter up. How many times am I going to do that during this tournament? You're going to end up having to rely on playmaking so much more when you don't have as many tools in the toolkit to reach for in Agent Select, like a team like G2 does, where you look across the board and pretty much every player is comfortable playing 3+ agents.
Yeah, exactly. We've seen Mixwell on Cypher, Killjoy, Sky. It doesn't really, obviously Jet, but it doesn't really matter for him. I don't know what's going to come next. I don't know what Mixwell is going to be playing. I would really like him to play Sky on today, because I feel like he could be a difference maker.
All right, well, I promise you this time. I absolutely promise you this time that we are ready.
PTSD already.
Please stay with me, Kuku. I promise. The players are ready to step onto the stage. So it is now officially time to get our first look at G2 and F4Q at Masters Berlin.
Oh no, he did that.
G2 Esports and F4Q. G2 Esports, some antics there stepping onto the stage, and if the first series was any indication, that kind of energy can do a lot of work early on in those pistol rounds.
Yeah. They're feeling comfortable. They're feeling it. We hear the screaming, the shouting. Maybe you cannot hear it, but here on stage is a completely different thing. I don't think we even need a crowd.
It was just acrobatic. I was like, what is this going on? There's so much energy.
Yeah, professional gamers, gymnasts, you know, what can't they do? But love to see the huddle up before we get into map select, agent select as well, see what we'll be working with when it actually comes to the gameplay. A little bit more tempered on the side of F4Q. Again, I think that fits the bill of what we saw from Bunny in the feature. Much tamer.
I mean, obviously, this is not the first time being on a LAN together, okay? They're just, you know,
how can we hear you, F4Q?
But yeah, it's not the first time being on a LAN, so they know exactly how this works for them.
Yeah, I mean, you do wonder, like, which of these two teams is going to be the most nervous, given where that difference in the LAN experience is, and also just the energy could just be a cover-up for the fact that it's like, all right, guys, we've actually got to do it now. This is actually real.
The players have taken their seats. Let's find out where we're going to have the action play out when it comes to the maps, starting with the vetoes. We'll dive right in.
Oh, I would say that's pretty obvious. Even if we're waiting here for them to pop up to go red, lovely production, I feel it's pretty obvious that we're not going to see split, because why would G2 let F4Q play on such a good map where they barely have any experience? And I actually expect F4Q to ban Breeze. It's been its permaban, but if we have surprises, I'm always down for one.
I mean, they have never played it before, but at the same time, if you have a look at their game on their grand finals in Korea, you have a look at their Icebox map, they lost 1 to 13.
Yes.
Well, the prediction was correct on the split ban straight off the bat. So far across the tournament, that has been the consistent ban. Still waiting to find out whether or not it will be the Breeze or something else to follow.
Oh. Okay.
A curveball. A curveball thrown in.
So it's funny, Gio, because you were saying they lost that map 1 to 13 against Patient Strikers, and everything went wrong in that map. Let's say even in the positions where it was actually hard for them to lose the round, they even lost it. And the first one is going to be Ascend. I feel like this was a compulsory match for this matchup.
This is basically G2's favorite map. It's one they do really well on. It is also one that they have been really flexible on recently, so we could see new things.
All right, well, will be F4Q going to defense, but it's a curiosity of mine as we talk about the lack of experience on Breeze for F4Q, that G2 wouldn't necessarily look at that as a free map and pick that early on. Still room for it to be picked up in this map draft overall, but Ascent will be the first map we head to.
I feel like it's so different, because from G2 we've seen them try everything on Ascent, but for F4Q they don't change anything. They feel super comfortable, and they don't mind starting on the attack, actually. They feel pretty comfortable, and we're gonna have a bind. Okay, so here we have an F4Q that tried a different composition. I mean, last time that they played, and it didn't work. And they actually lost that map, but they were doing great on Bind. And for G2, it's 50-50, but again, it's another map for G2 that they've been trialing so many things.
I have a lot of feelings about that Bind, because while G2 have certainly had some stumbles on it, even though statistically it's a map they like, they've had some stumbles on it in recent history. F4Q, it is that composition change that makes me nervous. Putting 5K on Sky was a huge risk.
All right, so do they stick to what has worked in the past or keep experimenting? Haven would be where we go if we do extend to a third map, which means Breeze ends up being left entirely out of the pool.
I mean, there's something that I love when it comes to G2 and picking Haven, and it's the fact that they started with the permaban. They were like, no way that we're playing Haven. We're out of FF and then play Haven, and now we see it so normally, and I think it's gonna be a good. I really like this map pick. Really like it.
I mean, what an evolution for a team, right? Again, I think maybe some of that tracks with the roster changes and how much this team has had to evolve in such a short time. But once again, it is going to be that Ascent for game number 1.
I feel like it's my favorite. From all the maps, I feel like it is a great start, because I feel like there's a lot of opportunities in Haven. Really also like the Bind, but for a team to establish what they're going to do and how they're going to play, I feel like Ascent is the right playground.
This is one of those maps that F4Q definitely lean into the one-trick mindset, where it's like, right, we play our favorite agents on this map, and I would be genuinely surprised to see them move away from that. But if they do deviate from it, of course, it's a risk on their part. I think that puts G2 in a really, really favorable position to be able to foresee some of the ideas that F4Q might have on this map.
I mean, F4Q starting on defense, I'm curious to see how much firepower G2 comes out with. Are they really going to try to throw F4Q for a loop with an aggressive attacking style, or will they look to play it slow, play it safe, you know, gather as much information as they can and then dismantle them piece by piece?
So the thing is, since F4Q are going to be playing Raze and not Jet, I feel like you can be aggressive, maybe not as much as you would with the Jet. And also having taken into consideration the Kellogg's plays with his smokes crazily, like there's something out of this world. I really feel like it's going to be a lot about the operator plays, because for example, Easy from SMB earlier on was not hitting the shots, and he would have been such a big difference. We would be on Icebox right now playing that third map if it wasn't for that.
I think for me, one of the big things I'm going to be looking for from F4Q when they're on their defense is how well they control mid, because that was a really big problem that they had when they were playing against Vision Strikers, and it wasn't until later on in their defensive rounds that they actually started using the KJ utility to try and hold it, and even then that wasn't really sufficient. And in my opinion, one of the biggest problems they had with trying to hold mid was that they didn't really have strong like control of the defender spawn. So, you know, Vision Strikers, they would get aggressive, they would push up mid, they would get past this Killjoy utility, and there would be no one to try and like hold them back from that area, no one to clear, and it just gave a lot of free space to Vision Strikers. I don't want to see them doing that for G2.
Very cool as well to see Neo coaches behind the squads. Big difference between Reykjavik and here in Berlin. Cool to compare the perspectives of those LAN events. Coaches much closer to the teams. Plenty of notes in hand from Neo. Wonder how many of those are going to come into play when it comes to Agent Select just around the corner.
I also love seeing the map on the floor. I feel like our production, I mean, it's not because they're hiring me, but this is amazing.
I feel like, you know, when we did the playtest the other day, we had a map on the floor, and I was just kind of walking around on it being like, oh, I'm in the map, and I felt like such a child, but it is so cool.
I remember I don't know in the rest of the world, but in Spain, we had this carpets with like roads and everything, so kids could play.
Yeah,
that classic one. That was
exactly.
that classic one. Oh my god, it reminded me just of that, but just, you
what
know.
I will find funny is if a coach at any point takes a player, brings them out to that giant-sized mini-map and places them, says, see, you were holding this angle, and then like moves them over here and go, now you need to hold this angle, right? Just use that.
It's like when you're doing your VOD review, you put your players on the part of the map that they were holding, you're like, you see this empty space?
Right.
This was the problem.
Exactly. Again, just waiting for the teams themselves to dive into Agent Select. From G2, I think, is where more of our questions lie. Again, it's pretty assured that a certain number of F4Q's players will hop on to their mains, their essential one tricks, whereas G2 has more to play with.
The thing that I actually am I'm really looking out for with G2 is the fact that only in the last time that they played on this map did they switch over from bringing an Omen to bringing an Astra. And I'm a big proponent of Astra, and I think that in the last stage of VCT, a lot of EU teams shied away from playing Astra after she got her nerf, and I'm really hoping that we're going to start seeing a lot of teams moving back towards that. So knowing that G2 have made that change recently, I think that that's pretty big, and I would like to see them stick to it.
So you want them to keep it?
Yes!
I mean, I disagree, just because I really like Avuva and Omen, but I agree with the Astra part of it. I really like Astra. I really like the things that she can do on any map. So let's see, actually, because we're going to have the Agent Select at any moment. I don't expect surprises from F4Q, but let's see what G2 go for. I'm really eager to see what Mixwell is going to pick, because the rest I can kind of imagine.
As you mentioned there, well, there's the Astra comes in.
Yes.
Alrighty, there it is, right off the bat, Sova on the other side.
I mean, Esperanza playing Sova, no surprise at all. Okay, Bunny on Raze, anyone could have said that. Coldementrons.
Okay, so here's the question. I need to know this, Gio, because obviously I know my own answer. Coldamento or Esperanza?
I think it depends what you're looking for.
Before you answer, just think that this is the map for the Coldin.
I think that Coldamenta is an excellent Sova. If you're looking just for how many kills you're going to get with a Hunter's Fury, I'm going to pick Esperanza.
Okay. Okay, another traitor here.
I mean, as Agent Select has played out, any other surprises or curveballs for the two of you between these two squads?
I mean, for F4Q, absolutely not. They picked all of the, you know, G2 are going to be looking at that and they're going to be like, hey, this is like every VOD we've seen. We know exactly what we're going to do against this one.
All right, well, we're going to waste no time to get into our second matchup of the day. The agents are locked in. The teams are ready to go. We're now going to toss it up to Pansy and Hypoc for the call.
Wow. I mean, it's something that stood out to me after, you know, we've been talking about Bunny, right? There's one raise, but there was also another, especially for G2 that caught attention. But he ain't out today. We got someone else coming out and about.
We do. It's Nuki back on the stage, which has been toyed with a few times. Obviously,
been dabbled with.
Kakuka's mentioned how much there's been a bit of movement in terms of the composition on Ascent in particular. But this, for me, is maybe an address towards what went wrong in that Gambit match previously.
Well, we're going to find out. There's been a couple of up and down results for G2. I think if anyone's paid real close attention to, you know, the EMEA region, it's been hot and it's also been cold, though. Don't need to sugarcoat that pill. We can kind of just say it how it is. We've cast them a lot. I love G2 as a team. I think they're some of the most exciting players when it all lines up. But let's speak about some of these players. I know Bunny's going to take the spotlight. The man is just a content machine. He's got some fire behind him, and we can get to F4Q in a moment. But let's start on G2 with some of these players that we have to be looking towards. And maybe now we're in a different arena. We're literally in an arena now. So this is a whole new world.
I think the one that we desperately need to see take the spotlight for G2 is Kellogg's, right? That's going to be a massive talking point. It's going to continue throughout this event. This is obviously the taster, right?
Yeah.
In terms of this matchup initially being their first, yes, big benefit in that regard, but need to see him come out and find his feet again because we've seen him, I don't want flaky is potentially the right word, right?
Sure, we'll say it lightly.
But it's the layers behind G2, right? It's where Kellogg's has gone wrong, who's picked up the slack. And previously, we've seen a couple of series slip through G2's fingers, right? Or a couple of maps in particular.
Now, the one thing I'm going to, I guess, have to play the G2 fan in this one, at least to counter
There's got to
the
be one of us,
right?
There's got to be one of us.
I mean, I can't ignore Mixwell's balancing potential to this. He is probably arguably one of the more experienced players from the EU region, from previous titles coming over, and he should be that safe pair of hands, and he can be. He's stepped almost away from the spotlight as your fragger that I expect to see towards the top, but he is fundamentally so solid for this team.
Well, I think the second part of that is actually being the support system behind Kellogg's, right? Particularly with this composition. As the Sky, it's going to be him that can kind of pull him back online, get him back on track, right? And be that kind of grounding factor that we've already discussed, and how important that is for a lot of these players' first appearance on LAN, and
huge, particularly
in the first series on LAN as well.
And we kind of then knocked that over to the other side. They came into this saying, well, people don't look at us the way they look at other teams. They don't expect us to be this kind of, you know, big esports looking squad. And I mean, they're the princes in Korea, right? Yeah, they're not quite up there. There's one team that might be looming over the top of them that we'll be seeing shortly, I'm sure. But they've been doing well for themselves. They're no slouches in what they do, and they're easy to underestimate, but there's so much firepower to them. They're, I'd say, unorthodox to an extent. Even in those interviews, they were kind of saying, like, we don't play the way people necessarily might expect us, and that's where we could catch you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think actually we talk about that as a matchup against a team like G2, where we know they like to start with their best foot forwards. If that gets stomped out and, you know, that fire's kind of extinguished before it even really starts burning, that's when we have concerns about G2. It's the recovery factor, because previously, I mean, the heritage of this roster is being ahead and being ahead clean and not allowing an opponent to even get a look in.
Well, look, I mean, I called F4Q the kind of, I guess, princes of Korea, living slightly in the shadow of the Kings out in that region for now. But again, I look at G2 as the Lich Kings, the once undefeated, glorious side.
Untouchable.
Exactly, and then they had to reform, rebuild, and reignite the squad, and we are finally ready to get underway. G2 kicking off on their map choice, which will be Ascent, popping themselves on the attacking side, and of course, on the other side, F4Q coming on the defensive side. Let's see what Bunny can bring. The man demands attention. I have to keep my eyes peeled towards his achievements here.
And straight away, actually, G2 going to be gifted a lot of space. At least the Boombot going to give away some information here of Kellogg's whereabouts. But there's only one player noted. F4Q going to hold strong right now with 3 players committed towards A. Actually ready for this crunch. So the nade going to force him away there. Mixwell don't actually think got close enough to find the information there, but the alarm bot, on the other hand, will give away mid.
Okay, G2 testing the waters. Slowly but surely, they've held both extremities. They're not allowing defensive side information to trickle through without being potentially contested, but it does slow down the pace slightly. We're at 50 seconds now.
Yeah, and it's Condiment has been posted up here. He's been given nothing. Nothing has been shown, at least towards A main. Looks like G2 And try and swing all the way through here. Zumba to hold down from Dice initially. No information off that flash though, Lauren.
No, but here comes the hit, and already you can see keloqz is on side, back of the gen, already looking to do some work here. Bunny though, there he is! That's the Bunny just bounding on through that everyone wanted to see, but there is still a Vova, there is still keloqz. The two that we've also highlighted can be big game changers, but Bunny's on 10 HP. Wall in the way, he can't quite make it round past that. Vova, 24 HP, looking for that next maybe step forward. Spike to hand, 13 seconds. Spike going down. They have no idea there's all three heaven. Now they know. keloqz knows a whole lot more. He does get himself to safety, falls away, banks on Vova to have his back. No more bullets to play with. Hits the reload, hits the shot. And now one more to go. It's G2 with the first.
Great recovery there, and keloqz actually, I mean, he has to be the one to bail Vova out there. That paint shell, I'm not sure if you just spotted there, Bunny throws a paint shell over Gen. It forces Vova back behind that door, brings him down so low. He cannot re-challenge before there's something in place to bail him out from there.
So let's, I'm going to pat myself on the back a little bit here. Both of us, one, Bunny, nutty start, quite good at the game, who'd have thunk it. On the other side, keloqz with a belting beginning. That is huge for a player like him, right? Let's say a player that when he pops off, when he gets everything ready for him, he's insane, but you want to see that early shake off that land nerves, those jitters.
Pistol round 4K, big tick in the box for G2 right now. keloqz hopefully going to get that. It's going to be the wind in his sails and potentially carry that through to the next few rounds. F4Q going to throw a couple of sheriffs into this and scattered utility. Again, G2 slow in approach. Gonna send out some feelers here. The turret actually going to spot out keloqz, at least initially. Spectre from this range, very difficult to deal with it, as you can see, but might even find the kill onto Athena. Nothing just yet though. Spike does make its way towards B main, so I think they want to pile on the pressure here.
But I like that they're still being held top mid. They're still holding the push over towards A. They're trying to play actually pretty well-rounded VALORANT at the moment. And look, we've all criticized G2 in the past. Many a moons ago, different roster ago. Do they have that depth? We're still learning about this look of G2. This was a dream run to get them to this point. Surprised many. So we have to see how this looks. And I'm looking at F4Q. Where do they find that space? Right now, keloqz is feeling it. He's got that hot hand coming in now. Perfect time to keep building confidence.
That first play is not actually going to draw anybody away from A site. You can see it's 4 players here committed for F4Q. Mixwell will find Athena. Bunny now trying to get something done with the paint shells. Zumba. A bit of a desperation swing through the door there, and G2 just comfortably cleaning this one up. Esperanza has to respect the flash, but information given across. keloqz going to spot him out as well, as whether or not you can do any damage here. Actually, from range, still going to get the better of keloqz.
Yeah, and it's wait and see. I mean, G2 right now keeping it very clean. Exactly what the doctor ordered for them. F4Q, it's not the end of the world. You aren't looking to win that round, but you may be looking to do a little bit of economical damage. Maybe do what you can, cost them a weapon or a reinvestment. Do something to dissuade this confidence that we'll be building.
Hey, 4 SMGs carried across. keloqz one away from the Blade Storm. Perfect opportunity to get a bonus round going here for G2. Let's see if they do decide to make a play here. On the other side, actually seeing Bunny
adjusting.
Yeah. A little bit of an adjustment. He's not quite settled just yet, and actually it will be a full rifle come through. I don't know if we're going to see any madness with a judge coming.
I was waiting for it. I've been told. Look, we've
I've heard rumours.
Yeah, that rumour being paper thin telling us. He's like, okay, look out for this guy and what he does. Here's a couple of ideas. keloqz gets away actually unscathed, so not bad investment of utility so far.
Well, I like this as well. I think actually F4Q are reading exactly what we're talking about. They're challenging this orb, not necessarily so much on the B side, but here on A main at least. The paint shells, gravity well invested, just to make it more difficult for keloqz to get his Blade Storm out. You see, and actually might even consider backing all the way off and picking up the orb on B.
I like this though, get a little bit of attention towards A, early contact, swing back in towards B, but there is utility here, so we have to see how this works out. Reyna towards back of Boathouse, you still have Athena waiting close by, and here we go, Seeker's going in, this will be burst, but let's see how that utility works. So far keloqz does get a little isolated, but that's fine, he seems happy to keep himself alive here. No one finding a challenge just yet, they are weathering the storm until now. There it is, keloqz finds the opener, backside 5k, only the 1k for now, and G2 have swarmed it and actually have taken it quite comfortably.
Yeah, we'll get themselves one upgrade as well. It's actually, just as he picked up the Vandal there, Bunny going to find that one. So brings it to a 3v3 here. See if actually Bunny can get anything else done on the way in. No, Rover's going to shut down the first door, the second as well. Esperanza falls.
Zumba, you know where maybe one is, you can hazard a guess at the second, and there it is, shut out, shut down, that's a bonus, and it's even in G2's pocket. They could not be happier with how that round just went.
Yeah, a comfortable start. Again, going to keep three weapons through. A good opportunity here for G2 to pile on pressure and build up a bit of a deficit, if I'm honest. I mean, in F4Q's favor, but the problem being here, and again, what we've kind of discussed, first buy round out of the way now, at least for F4Q, the concern comes of how much G2 want to now start kind of exploited mid, because you leave that open, players like Avova and Nuki, they will just keep poke. They'll poke and prod for a couple of rounds. If they find that space, that's when G2 look to punish.
Well, we've been seeing a lot of the front line pay dividends for G2 right now. A lot of the entries have been extremely successful with Kellogg's, but it's that, let's talk about that next layer where it's like Nuki on that lurk, or whomever it may be. We have that kind of next stage that comes in, and it is a timeout coming in. And it will be, I mean, maybe good timing to discuss a couple of options, get your head back in the game. This, as much as I hate saying, because it sounds like nonsense, it is such a momentum, mental-based game, especially for some of these players who are very new to the environment, new to how this feels, new to what it's like playing against different regions especially. This is so many different variables here.
It is, and I mean, if you talk about indicators in that previous round, looking to get a little more proactive in terms of denying that orb, there was nothing to follow up, right? There was no pinch through mid. There was nothing else to greet maybe the weaker side of G2's default. So that's really where they can get away with murder, right? Yes, they get all this information from who's present on A, who's pressuring outside of A man. You've got to anticipate there's a third member at least towards tree. So right there, the setup, it's the biggest tell that G2 can receive.
Funny to be maybe a difference maker here. Could do with, they just need something. They need to make a little bit of impact, I feel, even just for their own mental game right now, because it feels very clean. And Kellogg's, he's just untamable, even catching the observers out, and that's a rarity because we have the likes of Yeti, Sapphire, and Prius, the God Squad coming out. If you know, you know. For now, though, we look at what really they have to work with here. Again, Bunny not given many chances, that early look, but instantly Aldrone comes out. It's never easy. There's nothing gifted. There's no mistakes being made by G2 right now.
You see, actually, F4Q going to send a couple more bodies towards a full killjoy set up here in terms of utility as well. Lambot is going to be set up in front of Bunny, but again, last time G2 were able to creep up, pretty much got into A main for free, and it's looking like another pretty late hit in the round. Again, it wasn't comfortable in terms of on the way in, but one thing we've talked about with G2 is how rocky things have been in the post plant for them on the center in particular.
I get nervous with anti-ecos running late in the round.
Exactly.
I understand why you do it to cross all the markers off, and so far it's fine. None of those issues came through in the end. You know, Bunny could have become a factor, and maybe, you know, the tags coming in between the sheriffs and the marshal, but it wasn't to be. For now, this is okay. Nuki, let's see if you get timed. He's fine. Nuki's golden. And yeah, we're down to just Esperanza now. And again, look at this. Look at the discipline from G2. No one's giving them free chances. That's a banger of a shot, but it's instantly shut down. Again, 4 alive, 4 on the board. G2, we need to see, let's put G2 aside. I need to see an answer from F4Q now.
Yeah, we do. And actually just coming back to the anti-eco rounds, you know, those kind of post-plant holds that actually were G2's weakness in their last appearance versus Gambit. I mean,
game.
How many times did we, I think it was six in total. Just crazy to see. So right here, just them taking that breather between, you know, the 60 and 30-second remaining time on that round, just to really, really feel comfortable about the direction they're going, who's where, and actually getting full control of that site.
And we go again. No ops coming out. Ult-wise, 5K. On the other side, I guess Avova, progression, coming back around for Mixwell. He's loving this. And patience being shown by G2. We did see that aggression towards A in the prior buy round, so it does look like that mid attention now is being toyed with G2. And we can see a little bit of a fight on the extremity this time. First time we're seeing 5K kind of lean out a little bit for it here as well. Bunny, similar scenes, but that one's worked perfectly for him. Happy to find Avova. That will now force G2's hand slightly.
Yeah, I'm loving this. Actually, the first time we've really seen an adjustment from F4Q, and Bunny looking to get pretty proactive solo as well. He's got nobody out there. He's finding a 1v1, and I think that's actually the information that G2 have given him a couple of rounds now. That's maybe a weak spot. Actually, he's got to be careful here. Showstopper available, but not necessarily wanting to invest that just yet.
Look how little control they've got. No one by tree, no one on short. This is just suffocating towards that A site right now.
Yeah, there's almost no get out of jail free card here, and actually going to get revealed as well. Zumba, you find Nuki on the way in. We'll find another one as well. The showstopper gets popped. Goes through, no damage done, but it's just Kellogg's and Coldamenta now.
if Coldamenta get enough attention, be enough of a problem, he can't be Bunny's founding. This is brilliant work, but keloqz, how big can you go? Not enough this round, and finally there's the answer they were looking for. It's huge for them as well. Imperative. That aggression on the extremities paid off. That is exactly what they needed. Bunny going for it, 5K going for it, and they were rewarded.
And actually on both sides here, I feel like actually this is a round where G2, the first time they've actually actively pushed through mid a little bit. They figured out the killjoy utility, and then actually they're like, well, potentially we're going to bait a little bit of a rotation here, and it's the complete opposite. F4Q holds strong, Bunny finds a kill, and G2 still trying to lean that direction.
And it's not just the Bunny show right now. Zunba's bailout on Dice then, the 2 that he picked up, was a difference maker. Bear in mind, Bunny was low HP. They had completely had tree open. That could have been something different. But for now, Bunny jump spotting out towards kind of mid, has a little bit of a looks, falls away from it, but once again, trying to show a little bit of strength over towards the B halls, pushing up here, but G2 this time committing further towards mid, and it looks like keloqz wants to go deeper on this one this time.
Indeed, as he's going to get all the way through market here. Actually, Athena going to get spotted out. A little bit of a miscalculation there with a dash, but it come through. G2 actually find a 2-for-1 on the way in.
Esperanza's on an island, and he's just been drowned off it. Mixwell finds him for free almost here, as Bunny is just late to the party. Where's Zunba in this as well? He's deep in towards CT. This was lost by the timing that came out. You saw the keloqz just pushed and pushed and pushed, just almost jumping the gap, and as I said, Esperanza had no time to do anything.
This is another round where, you know, those previous fact finders where G2 have pushed it forward a little bit further and further each round now, and now they're ready to just catch F4Q completely off guard. Bunny now 30 HP, last one standing, and again, all the success from that previous round now effectively written off.
I think, again, you talk momentum-wise, great work there. keloqz cleans it up. We talk about the kind of mind games and momentum and kind of, you know, the kind of pendulum swing, right? It's like, well, okay, we've been doing this, they're going to expect us to do this, we'll counter that, the back and forth, and finally, we had F4Q do really well at that. Good adjustments, good read, well handled. We saw it, as said, the round that they picked up. However, instant response from G2. It wasn't like, well, we'll let you build off that. We'll let you get maybe a little bit of momentum, control, anything. No, we're right back into it, straight back on that. And I want to look at the money. That's got to be pretty tight now for F4Q.
Yeah, I'm seeing a judge back on Bunny here. Actually, elsewhere, Athena actually just got a sheriff, so a bit of a scrappy investment at least. Not sure what's left in the tank outside of this. Hunter's Fury available for them. Athena one away from the lockdown as well. See how G2 approach this, because this is the first time they've not really shown anything towards B main. Actually, Bunny gets caught there over actually with the pinch.
Yeah, look at the pacing and the pressure coming out from G2 here. This is still great. Zumba's been found, so they know that Dice is clear. 5K is not too far away, but there's still keloqz to keep him locked in. There's no easy way back through. Hunter's Fury gonna come out. Does it do much? keloqz in the meantime trying to get some pressure. Great flash in. Mixwell does him dirty. 5K had no chance, and there's that combo, that 1-2 punch we want to see build between them and Esperanza. Couldn't do much about it. G2 with lovely pacing there as well. Almost went, okay, let's hit the brakes, try and get that spike plant. Let's try and build off that. Okay, Hunter's Fury comes in. Let's just take a second. No rush, no need to overdo things. Very well handled again.
Again, look at it. Just Bunny's under so much pressure here, and the timing is perfect. You've already said there's the spacing on this hit to get through and find all this pressure and capitalize on it as well. And I gotta say, for me, being the biggest concern, keloqz coming into this, the man's 11-3 right now. He is running away with a couple of these rounds, finding entries and also punishing F4Q when they're out of position, right? When G2 can isolate a player, keloqz is the one to close that gap.
Go again. Has to have full faith that Mixwell's setting him into motion too when it's time to go, and he has been. And now, starting to work through. There's that close flash, gets no one. Looking towards stairs, double stacked up, and they have a little bit of potential. 3 players there. That's a rifle he'd love to have. Nookie, death from above. Oh, it's clean. Oh, it's very clean for G2. This is spin on, boys.
They're starting to coast now a little bit, and that's that's concerning. Again, that round, bit of a throwaway from F4Q. We know that the previous was a little scrappy investment, 3 rifles and 2 lessers. We'll leave it at that, but this is where you start getting concerned, honestly. If G2 start then getting, you know, that cocky side of this team comes through, and they...
Let them have it, Alan.
Yeah.
Tame him when you need to. But let's also talk then context-wise. For F4Q, how did this map sit for them? Was this high up in their played pool? Was this something that was... you know, we know this is a G2 choice here. So, again, for me, how much were they depending... Excuse me? I did not know we were hitting the Xantares peaks, the Ferrari peaks already this early, but back up we go. You're gonna have a whole lot of ults rolling around that G2 side, so they'll be fine to at least get that res back up here. But first blood finally drawn for F4Q.
Yeah, and straight away ripped away from them. Nuki will get Kellogg's back on his feet. We'll be careful here though. I see the paint shell combo not lining up. No damage done whatsoever here. Again, utility being invested and not an awful lot garnered on the back of it. Again, Avova present in mid. And what I want to see F4Q start doing is exploring a little bit of B main pressure, to be honest with you. So coming out, capitalizing on the fact that G2 are kind of prioritizing towards mid and short. I'll say that Athena will actually find Kellogg once again, so his second death on the round here. Got to be careful if Nuki boosted up on the wall. He will actually find, well, actually Nuki finds 2 there, Athena and 5k.
And now we end up in this 3v2. Funny and Zunba trying to work through that was a little hap-handed. You're not going to get away with it. Nuki still watching. Eyes trained. Spike to be planted. No contest in sight as Zunba. Well, you're in CT now. The post plant is so difficult here. You have 0 clue. And now finally, you can start stepping forward.
I mean, at this point, what's even the value of finding some kills here? Go for the round in my eyes. There's absolutely nothing lost here if they're back on a save round. Once again, with this round deficit. Again, take a weapon away, sure. I think somebody did actually just get a call, potentially, for one of his teammates. Like, oh, you saw him there when you crossed, by the way.
Who doesn't love those calls? And yeah, this is... I mean, economic damage is great when you're not 7-1 down. Make it 8-1. Coldamentus found it. And yeah, I said, looking through the history leading into this of at least Ascent and the performance we'd seen out of F4Q, this wasn't a map that they didn't like, this wasn't a map they didn't play, it was actually a pretty decent map. Yes, they lost to Vision Strikers, but outside of that, did relatively well. So, I mean, this isn't one that's super low in their priority list, which makes me worry slightly bigger picture, or this just says, okay, well, G2 are actually nuts. You know, it's kind of finding out where teams are here.
Well, I think coming into this, there's more questions around G2, especially regionally, with where we've seen kind of their performance fluctuate a little bit. I keep coming back to that Gambit series because it was the one that stood out.
Yep.
Again, that being Gambit on the other side of it is how much you want to read into that one. We'll have to decide. But again, G2 slow in approach here. And F4Q once again just willing to give up this early territory to G2. They're going to push on through. Yes, Athena has the lockdown, but again on a round like this, 4 Sheriffs, 5k has a Vandal. What's the value here of even really playing retake? They expect a challenge to come through, at least on contact through main there.
He's all playing towards the stairs. Got a nice little crossfire in place as well with Kellogg's. Needs to be something. That 1 rifle on 5k. Find the value, find something. The flash towards CT, the late round aggression. Mixwell's just making it hurt. He'll take that on the chin, no worries. Bunny will at least tame some of the aggression, but look at this. This is brutality at its finest. They are just completely unchained right now. It's just 0 care to it. Look at it. They're like, okay, we'll expect the first and the second aggression, but maybe the third out of Kellogg's, and we're looking at double digits now almost. This is a nasty game for F4Q.
A tough one to be the opener. Kellogg's now 16-5.
Yeah.
I mean,
huge performance.
I said earlier it was a tick in the box. This is. I mean, you can throw the checklist out the window at this point. That for me is the best possible scenario for G2 coming out in their opening series here. F4Q actually going to call attack timeout again. At this point, I mean, you start to think about just shaking this map off. I mean, what can you really achieve towards the end of this? The halftime's not really going to, you know, benefit them an awful lot in terms of a pace change, because it relies them stringing together an insane amount of rounds to even make this realistic.
Yeah, and we talk about realistic. I mean, we could sell you the lovely concept of, oh, if they just put their minds to it. The chance they come back is going to take a monumental climb. And the second we see an indicator, we will tell you about it. We'll latch on to it like there's no tomorrow. But right now, G2's performance, I've got to say, is outclassing this. And maybe it's map. Maybe it's just the opener. Maybe it's that confidence. Maybe it's Kellogg's. Maybe it's all the things, all the stars aligned here. Now, it doesn't say that on map 2, it's going to be the same thing. That would be Bind, which is F4Q's choice. So that does change things a little bit.
And I guess in terms of comfort zones, yes, we could say that probably does lean a little stronger in terms of F4Q.
Yes.
But again, G2, they've showed up on Bind a few times. Yes, we could say the same thing. They've lost a few games, but I think Bind in particular is one where they've been a lot more stubborn about their composition, stuck to it. There's not been this kind of, you know, willingness to just try something one-off, whether it be in the playoffs or in the, you know, the final stages of challenges. But we'll have to wait and see, because we're still here, round 11 now on Sen. Again, Bunny's got an operator now.
Okay.
So are we going to see it?
Cannon.
Looking as if we're going to see them challenge mid at least a little bit. It's almost 6 rounds too late for me, but let's see how they get on.
All right, he's got no armor, glass cannon, he's dead. Kellogg's does not get it. The lovely part of this is just click heads. So simple. And look at that, he finds another. Easy stuff for the man on the screen. He is feeling this. The game is all working for him. Every peak, everything he does is lining up, and there's nothing to stop him. Seek is now going again, being facilitated by Mixwell. Leans on forward. The timing couldn't quite find it there. A little bit of a fumble on it towards Athena, who does hold tree for now.
Coleman to one away from the Hunter's Fury. Again, I think Athena's in one of those spots where we're expecting him maybe to lean back on that lockdown. But the orb available, Coleman will retrieve it, and that basically strips that away from F4Q. Mixwell actually still holding pretty close on tree here. I don't think Athena's going to be expecting that at all. Actually, look at this.
Flash.
The gravity was perfect. Mixwell with the flash. Beautiful little set piece there to dig him out. And again, you know, expecting that, anticipating they're going to look to hold on to tree with that lockdown, because it's their only hope of fighting back in here.
Oh, the flash again. He knows there's another. 5K is in so much trouble. Mixwell is just putting him through the ringer. Zumba is not happy. He's got about 3 different angles to worry about. Luckily for him, he's actually cracked. So he's found 2 already by tree. Sadly, the rest are just out of reach. And G2 are just flexing now.
Yeah, I said coasting, now it's flexing.
Yeah, the worst thing is, I can only imagine the Twitter state after this. I mean, you've obviously they've got the Sentinels fold already, you know, whether they win or lose that matchup, but that's already been pretty spot on. So I'm quite excited to see how they're feeling after the
Carlos
first
somewhere
half.
is just grinning ear to ear right now.
I mean, this is their town. This is G2's town. You see it all over. They've got the posters out. They've been out there doing everything to try and claim this as theirs. And the boys in the server are fighting somewhat the same. 10-1 though, half now looming. F4Q still finding desperation is the name of the game here, and not finding much for it.
And one thing, again, we did talk about kind of the support tools in place for Kellogg's previously. This match, for me, I mean, especially in terms of opening duels, he's been finding them himself, honestly. Bunny actually with a double satchel out will find Nuki on the other side. Again, that's what we expect from him, where he really shines on that raise, is those double blast packs out to get aggressive. Take one away, but again, at this point, I think G2 happy to escape with just giving 1 kill away there, to be honest with you.
I think that's one of those you're like, fair enough, we take that. And here we go, Kellogg's again, just trying to follow up off the back, but it's actually called a Mentor who claims he was so ready if he needed to be. Avova still controlling towards the other side. Is being closed in on.
Yeah, Zumba's actually creeping out there behind him. Mixwell will catch an audio IQ in mid as well. You see there, Avova did get caught off guard.
Uh-oh.
Well, yeah, a freebie.
Uh-oh.
And a second.
Oh, someone please, someone please. I don't know. Is my copium rising here for the Sentinels game? I don't know.
30 seconds.
I can't believe you'd.
The hopium is high.
That.
Yeah, I mean, 5K is blind in this scenario. Bunny is your last player standing in the half here, and it's Mixwell to find it. A truly beautiful game we've just witnessed. I don't know how else to phrase this one. So, yeah, I'm a little blown away here.
Yeah, I mean, actually, a quick in and out. To be honest with you, this was, again, something I was expecting G2 to want to come out and put on this sort of display, because I think it plays to their strengths, it plays to their confidence factor. And right here, I mean, like I said, we've gone through the motions, coasting, flexing.
It's all happening. And, well, look, speaking of hopium and copium, we've got to head over to Sean, who'll be breaking down some beautiful looks from that first half.
Thank you so much, Lauren. And yeah, I agree, Hypoc. This one is going to be quick. G2 are going in and out of this server. And I'm going to show you why. This is the 3rd round, the bonus round. And typically this round goes heavily in the favor of the opponents. But I'm going to show you how G2 spread out across the map to steal this round away. So at first, what we're going to see is the Sage and Kellogg's taking control of A main. The Sage is going to throw a slow off of the wall. That's going to allow Kellogg's to then make his way up into that corner over there. And his goal is just to create a presence. Just let these people in A main know we are fighting for this, try to get some utility out of them, and win the early round utility battle. But I also want to draw attention early round to the players outside B. This is clearly not an A strat. The spike is still deep outside B. You see Mixwell using his Trailblazer to clear out B main, and he's doing the same thing over there. Meanwhile, the Sova's holding top mid. In CS, this is called actually a default. So this is the perfect example of a default. So let's run the clip now. So you can see here's A main, Bunny's jump spotting with those paint shells, and the second the gravity well is activated, he uses it. Kellogg's has to use his dash to get away. And he's actually saving here because he wants to get that orb for the Blade Storm. So he realizes he can't get it, but they have made, F4Q use so much utility at this A main. So they're gonna run all the way back spawn here to B, and that's when they regroup, and Kellogg's is actually gonna get this orb now in B main. And that is when the strat actually executes on the B site. And you can see they have done such a good job of spreading out F4Q. There's 3 people still on the A site, but this is a B hit. This is a B hit. He pops the Blade Storm. Mixwell has the Seekers already on the bonus. Kellogg's using his updraft to clear the site, goes into a smoke, smokes the turret. You can see Mixwell actually flashing lane. The Seeker told Kellogg's exactly where Fina was, and literally the round is already over. This is just such a good job of spreading the map, pushing and pulling rotations, hitting the weak bomb site, and using utility perfectly. This is something that I'm not used to seeing G2 do typically, so they have brought an extra level to their game today, and I don't know what F4Q is going to do to bring this map back in their favor. Panpoc, tell me what they need to do.
Oh, you think if you don't know, Sean, the most,
Throw it to me, yeah, obviously.
Yeah,
right?
come on, Hypoc, theorize, figure it out. Look, honestly, a brilliant little look there. As said, some of the really big key indicators that really stood out to us, that, again, it's great to see that broken down piece by piece.
I love the fact that Sean's picked up on the fact this isn't something we see G2 typically do, and I think actually to mitigate a player like Bunny, when you know that that's going to be kind of the spearhead of the game plan for a 4Q, play a little deeper, play a little slower, and we talked about that in a number of rounds where actually you'd expect Kellogg's to be coming out W key held as soon as the barrier drops. And look at it, the risk management has played off so well for them in some of these rounds.
And again, this is just, we're looking to see who G2 are these days. This rebuilt roster, this reformation of who they were, we don't quite know it. Oh, Kellogg's is feeling a little fruity.
I wonder why.
Go on then.
Why?
Go on then. Let's have a round. He's walking mid. Kellogg's is walking mid. He's actually been jump spotted. This start already has just brought me deep joy. And I want to just look at F4Q. They've just seen that, okay, well, we've got a really confident Jet up against us who's happy to take fights. Esperanza definitely caught enough of a glimpse of that. Now we have to see where they take themselves. Is it this A-Lean? It looks very likely.
Yeah, this is interesting because there's actually a gap created here. The Owl Drone going to come through, and I think actually on the back of the sound queue, you can see some utility invested now towards door. Bunny happy to go all the way through to Gen.
Yeah, even, like, I don't think the observers could keep up with that. Bunny was so quick. He's backside, they've taken the space, and maybe that contact on short was enough of an indicator for them to say, screw it, let's get on the site, boys. And now we're in a 5v5 post plant. They've done what they needed. They got on the site, but now they need to hold it. The retake is on the way.
I'm seeing the recon available here. Kellogg still with his dash and that Sheriff, and actually he's going to come through, try and bait a little bit of contact, but Esperanza gets the better of him. 5K will double down as well. And look at this, all the kills going to F4Q.
Who needs a Sheriff when you get a classic? It makes perfect sense. 2 now left, Mixwell and Avova to try and do something about this, but we wanted an answer, we wanted a statement, and we might just have it. Mixwell, can you do any damage, or will it be 5 alive? First round of the board. Nice little pop flash, and there it is. Flawless beginning. A prime gaming flawless beginning, should I say, for F4Q, and a very desperately needed one here.
I mean, flawless being the word that this half needs to be for F4Q. I mean, yeah, great pistol on the board. Let's see you follow up on that now. Again, I love the approach, and you're absolutely right, actually, in terms of 5K to get so much value off that recon ball. That's ridiculous.
Nasty. Oh, he's even got the free little upgrade. You love to see it. You love to see it. Okay, but okay, we were genuinely, normally, when we talk about comebacks, we talk about it when teams reach like 8 and up, right? Like, and that's even, yeah, I do normally play double digits, but I'm being nice to the, you know, newer audience members. But yeah, this is going to be a long road back, and it does indeed have to be flawless, and they have to somehow navigate around Kellogg's having a pop-off round. Something good happening for X, Y, and Z, which is very hard to do because it's not just on you. It's not just you trying to determine this. So we'll have to see how this now goes.
Well, initially here, at least, yes, and I know, look at the weaponry here that G2 have, but the fact that F4Q are kind of sat back thinking, are they going to show us anything? And G2 are happy not to. See here, they're going to send 2 extra bodies towards B site. Just be Avova to hold down A at least, and F4Q are leaning that way. They're about to walk into a stack. Only 2 sheriffs.
Okay.
Actually, now G2, look at this. I think they've
the
completely
timing,
misread this. The Owl drone has baited this entire rotation, Lauren.
That's actually sick. MVP Owl drone.
F4Q are coming back.
No.
The Owl drone didn't spot anything, so they're going back.
It's the worst double pump we've ever seen. Oh, no, but maybe G2 go. Maybe they go. They're like, no one's coming. No one's coming.
30 seconds left.
Well, this is, we were talking about this earlier, right? At this point now, 1 kill can change the entire course of the outcome.
So they've only seen Sova so far. Now they know there's at least one more. Here comes the utility. Avova just leans through that smoke just a touch, and he's actually going to find one. He is truly just, you know, the assassin from the mist normally if you see him on an Omen. But look at Avova again. Look at this timing. Look at what he could do with this. Maybe rejoining the boys. Finds Core. A little bit of damage on Athena. This is still damage now. Spike is planted. It's a 2v2. How the hell have we got here? Nuki and Avova gets back around, gets the heal off of Nuki. That's huge. He's back up to functioning level. We still have a rifle on deck for 5k. This should not be a problem, but it truly is. Zumba's attention is purely drawn towards heaven. 5k finds Nuki. That's now threat 1 gone, and there it is. Dealt with in the end, but we were all starting to sweat bullets in that moment.
Again, unfortunately, I mean, Nuki has to challenge 5k on short there. He has to try and retrieve a weapon to almost swing that back in their favor, but that's exactly what we're talking about in the first half, right? With these late hits, yes, it's against pistols, but where's the last place you want to fight against classics, right? When you're all bunched up, you have to play these close contacts and swing out from door, out of the smoke. It's so difficult to deal with, and 1 kill can change that, right? The spike's planted with 8 seconds left.
Yep.
It's just so awkward to watch. Luckily, they get away with that one, and Bunny on a judge, but rifles across the board elsewhere. But that's difficult now for round 3, right? Because it's reinvestment. We talk about obviously building momentum in terms of the economy. That's not what you want to see.
No. I mean, that round I feel is going to be clipped. The Owl drone, the double pump, the double rotation, somehow being on the right side, almost getting down to, I don't want to say a feasible 1v2. There's still a lot to play through there, but jeez.
That's when I wish we just have a listen in from around like that. It's like, right, go 8. Now everyone go B. Oh, there's an Owl drone 8. Everyone go back to 8.
Yep.
At least, you know, well managed by F4Q, and yes, ultimately G2 are able to get bodies back in place. I mean, at that point, like I said, 30 seconds left. You might as well gamble stack one way or the other. There's no point trying to react off anything in those last 30 seconds, because I think F4Q's hand is forced in that scenario. There's no real recovery if they don't opt to end up on A there. I think through this timeout again, just going to maybe reassess the situation, but. How far do we see G2 push out now? That's what I want to see coming into this round in particular. Fire round here, Kellogg's nowhere near the Blade Storms, obviously nothing really to rely on in the next round.
Okay.
And again, I know you were pointing out there, 4Q's economy, worrying.
Yeah. I mean, they're going to be stretched
Look at this lean, though.
as much as they can be. A pretty even purchase coming out, really, between the two teams. But Bunny going to do it again. Look at this damage, but it's not a kill. Avova catches him mid-air, swats him down. Mixwell has to fall off this angle just a touch. Avova's in danger as well, but the timing works out so well for him. Only for the 1 in the end. I thought Mixwell could have done a little bit more with that, but so far the site's somewhat controlled by F4Q.
Kellogg's is here so early, though. Look at this information he's going to gather. Nobody in A main. He's got plenty of time to clear out wine, and look at his teammates. They can sit back, sit comfortable here, wait for this. Kellogg's actually takes a swing, tries to find a kill, and Esperanza's going to punish him.
There's no trade. There's nothing off the back of that. That was a little individual for my taste, and that's a big round for F4Q. They needed that.
How the hell did 5k just find that kill? Because there was nothing in terms of information that came out there. It was just a straight wall bang.
Yep.
Okay.
Must be nice. I mean, the timing on a lot of this. Let's have a look.
Well, I mean, at least getting a little noise out of them. It was quiet in the first half. I think that's fair to say. But again, the fact that G2 are able to get Kellogg's into a position, he's able to relay that information that there's no kind of top mid control. It's more than likely looking like an all-in piece. And Actually, having said that, look at G2 now, all the way out through B main. Early information here from Kellogg's. The turret going to give away this push, and F4Q now going to scramble to try and capitalize on this push from G2, get themselves onto A side. At least Bunny going to lead the charge once again. Up close and personal, actually misses the jump into heaven, but site control at least heavily in the hands of F4Q.
Great flash, great flash. Ooh, Athena, so well done to maintain as Mixwell's trying to push through. We do have 2 on the flank, keep in mind. This time there is a player towards Wine, though, big adjustment on that. Now looking at this one, G2 are here, Sheriffs, sure, a little bit of armor as well. It's not a completely toothless purchase. Esperanza very aware of this potential flank coming in, working off the back with Zumba, trying to swing out together. Well controlled towards one. Coldamenta actually going to get away with it. And Zumba and Bunny controlling what remains, sweating out the final player. There it is, 4 alive, only 1 rifle lost, and no big, I guess, victories there to report for G2.
Yeah, and I love the kind of addressing an issue in the previous round, tucking one into Wine, just saying, actually, last round, very quickly they're up mid, very quickly they're behind us. And again, Mixwell's actually so unfortunate not to find that one. But immediately there's the adjustment here from F4Q, and it's gathering this information as they go along. Again, talking about building back into a comeback, it's things like that actually, those small mistakes being addressed on the fly, is really good to see from them.
Talk about the ebb and flow of how this game goes. This is another big round coming in because you've got the buy coming out of the op coming through for Kellogg's. This is huge. If F4Q can do something with this, it's game back on, and here we go. Ult comes online, and Esperanza finding Mixwell somewhat for free, it feels like, but Nuki's found Bunny this time, who's been bounding towards the back of sight so freely. Now, Kellogg's still here. You do have the Astra divide coming through as well. Is that... Yeah, both sides actually just absolutely going for it. Now, we do actually have, what, 4v3. So the first time we're seeing, really, F4Q with a deficit against a dangerous round.
And Bunny immediately, I mean, you can see every single time he's going for that double satchel to close the distance, play with the judge, and just get up close and personal, but it's not worked out for him twice now. See, is F4Q anticipating a little more aggression from G2.
You should run.
Fina, throw the lockdown. He actually has the spike as well, so whether or not he's going to try and slip into A main as Esperanza and Zumba here. Might try and pinch on the back of this lockdown, but both members of G2 here committed, Nuki and Kellogg's. They can sit for free.
Yeah, but I want to see how much room they get towards tree and how far they can pressure that, because then suddenly heaven becomes a bit of an issue. For now, the timing's off. Athena gets found comfortably. There's the trade eventually from site for Esperanza, but that's only Nuki. That's only part of the problem. There's still 2 other players lingering around, and they know where the spike just was, and that's such an uncomfortable position. Zumba with the perfect play up from tree. That's what I was saying, that heaven can become hell as soon as tree gets lost, but time now. 10 seconds, and now the pendulum swings of over. What have you got for us here? Doesn't quite get what he wants. Spike is down. He can't quite keep them tamed towards the site. He does get Esperanza, and now Zumba against Avova. And Zumba's not playing this passively at all. He is looking for this, just slips away, and Avova chases him down. And G2 are going to make it to 12.
Zumba almost caught in no man's land, though. He's nothing to fall back to, but
where do I go?
Doesn't take the peek. That's the weirdest thing. In that scenario, I feel as if he just doesn't have another option. Just take the fight. Yes, it feels uneasy, but it takes him so long to walk behind something there that it's lost as soon as Avova gets up close.
100%. You know he's got that internal clock ticking away, knowing exactly the opportunities. And Avova, ooh, crouch key stuck on land.
Good. Tech pause. I don't know if we've got the keyboard issue down there. As a repeated crouch. We'll have to wait and see an official decision on that. But yeah, Avova, man.
That's the Avova you want to see, though.
I'm used to seeing that in the
webcams
on
yeah, absolutely.
About 10 FPS.
I mean, I think he's one of those players that if he gets fired up, it's not normally on the Astro we see. I'd say Omen, you get to see a little bit more of that when he's a bit more instrumental to this. But again, coming into this one now, Op was recovered, and once again it's gone down. Bunny with a new look this time, going to at least find Kellogg's, but it is G2 getting aggressive elsewhere. Zumba, has he been tested like this before?
Coldamenta revealed at least, and F4Q looking to pile on the pressure. Coldamenta will actually find 5k. Esperanza will find the headshot in response. Over now, though. The push through. Mixwell will get the Seekers online from this orb being retrieved, and actually, going to give all this information away, Lauren.
Found one.
Will they find the spike hit? Oh no, Mixwell reconsidering. I think he was looking to push back on the end of those Seekers, but at least now with the information, Nuki can get Coldamenta back on his feet.
Okay.
I have the spike.
Still hope here. There's still 3 players and a little bit of room to play with.
Revealing area.
Now, Mixwell just looking for any pixel that might appear, and they are on the way. Mixwell is about to potentially greet at least bare minimum 2. Has both flashes still to play. There it is. That's enough of an indicator for him to call for
info.
A little bit of support. Here comes Bunny. Can at least get a little further forward, but it's the cross, and it's a problem of oversitting deeper here. Esperanza, a great trade. Mixwell pop flash, gets him on the cross. Mixwell's been having a blinding, blistering performance, but it's on Athena to try and save F4Q. And look at him playing the time. He doesn't even overstep. The man so experienced. And now 3 players coming back in from short. It looks like it's G2's moment, and it is Nookie to claim the final frag towards Athena, and honestly, this game should be a statement for G2.
It was, yeah. Again, F4Q not achieving nearly enough in the first half. Yes, we saw a couple of positives in the second half of that, but not an awful lot else to write home about, honestly. I mean, Bunny expected to see a few of those plays. We saw glimpses, yep. But no real success found on it. And actually, my biggest question is, what's the layer behind Bunny being, you know, that aggressive, and what happens when he doesn't find value, when he's not gifted some of these openers?
Right, I was kind of then eyeing up someone like maybe 5K to find a little bit of a lurk or something to lean towards, but we didn't really get much of that. And I think a lot of the credit goes to G2, seemingly very well prepared throughout this.
Indeed, this last round, and you noted it as well, Mixwell's ability to just sit here and basically control F4Q, right? Dictate the pace of how this round is going to play out. Again, it's so beautiful watching this man on your screen, Kellogg's.
There he is.
Fantastic opener here in Berlin. Do you know what? Again, I'll come out and say it. Some of the rounds we've seen him kind of pile on the pressure, a little unorthodox, right, in terms of how deep he's willing to go. But seeing him do the same thing here is a massive benefit for G2.
Yeah, now even throwing away from him, looking towards someone like Mixwell, who kind of created that perfect balance between the two, the experience that came through for them. And I think we can see it throughout most of these scenarios. But what a welcome to the stage it was, seeing Bunny make his appearance at the start there. I had high hopes going forward.
Absolutely is. A chance to look back at some of the highlights again. Mixwell, it's been good to see him again, see him test the composition here with G2 again. We've seen him appear on the sky a few times, but I've got to say this is probably the most comfortable I've seen him in any individual map performance, at least on that age.
Yeah, and even beyond that, we were looking at the likes of Nookie, kind of switching things up here, looking like he wants to bring out the, I believe it was a Sage coming through for him rather than what we traditionally seen him on. And I've got to say, it looked okay. It didn't blow me away, but I don't think it had to.
No, and I'd be interested to know really whether or not that's the adjustments made on a few times G2 have in particular slipped on Ascent, which we've talked about previously. Again, we didn't really see them struggle in any post-plant scenarios there. Obviously, with the way the rounds played out, it wasn't ever really a question.
Let's go.
And yeah, the difference, look at it. Palpable, truly, between them. You know, the difference between the win and the loss there, and G2 now pumped up. I think that's the biggest thing going forward, but it was their map choice. It is not over yet. However, what is over is us for now. We're going to go to a break, and when we're back, the desk will be taking through everything we just saw and leading you to what is coming up.